No, no, I'm just focused. What's up, fam? It's your local fitness go-to girl, Fee King. This is the Fee King Show. It's going down. It's going down right now. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 12 noon. God willing, it goes down every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The Fee King Show is all about who are you on a cellular level. Who are you when the chips fall down? Who are you when the whole house of cards fall in? Who are you when you are being challenged, when you get to become comfortable with being uncomfortable? Who are you then? What do you do? What's your why? How in the world are you keeping this thing all together? I.e., what is your self care modality? I will give you an example. I am a woman, a sister, a cousin, a favorite cousin to my one and only cousin Rosetta Bonner. Rest in peace and rest in power. I am an auntie, pet parent. I'm a fiance. I have experiences. I have feelings of failure, anger, resentment. I am passionate. I am uber excited about life. I am happy. I am gleeful. I am full of joy. I am a Libra, therefore, I'm constantly looking for the balance in life. What do I do? I'm so glad you asked. I help women over the age of 40, specifically, yet not exclusively, get unstuck en route from where you are to where it is you want to be in your fitness and your financial. What makes me qualify is I have gotten myself unstuck. I have been doing this work subconsciously, doing this work for 20 plus years. And let me tell you something, the biggest value that I found in getting unstuck was the realization that the Calvary was not coming to save me. It was my responsibility to save myself. Nothing and no one externally outside of self is responsible for saving me, saving you. Why do I do what I do? Because I love myself so much today that it only makes sense to love my sisters exactly where they are. How am I keeping this thing all together? I.e., is my self care modality running, reading, mindfulness meditation, transcendental meditation, exercise, and prayer. I am in a perpetual state of convening and fellowshipping with God. Are y'all ready? Let me say it again. Are y'all ready for the Fee King Show? Sometimes in life, you get to be your own freaking A hype woman. You get to be your own hype woman. You get to show up and show out for your own life condition. You get to cheer self on. You get to pat self on the back and on the shoulders. You get to big you up. You get to be your own hype girl, your own hype woman. So I had an idea of what I was going to talk about today on the Fee King Show. And as it would stand, life will present you an opportunity to pivot. Sekou Wrights and I are watching Rev Melissa this morning. She has a pre-recorded show. And she was sharing she dropped so many jewels and wisdom. And I was like, oh no, stay focused, stay focused. I realized it was an opportunity to pivot. She was talking about the difference in visualization and visioning, because she teaches these visioning classes. And the difference, the breakdown that she gave was so easily digestible. Like, I got it. The difference between visualization and visioning is visualization is something that you see, that you know you can accomplish or have because you can see it in your mind's eye and or you've done it before. Visioning is beyond your capacity, your ability to see it. Visioning is what you ask God for. So let's just say relationship. God, please, please bring me the relationship that is perfect for me. That is visioning. There's work around that. That is not the work that I do. And so at the end of her show this morning, Sekou Wrights used to produce her show, and he used to be a part of her show, and he would do a recap on the hero movement. He created I love the hero hoodies. He created the hero hoodies. A lot of people don't know this because it happened before his stroke. So this was before July 14, 2022. With the hero movement, it was a movement. He was working with several nonprofits. He's watching Rev Melissa talk about him, and then he's watching himself give a report of the hero hoodies. Imagine, I want you to imagine for a minute that you've had a tragic occurrence that has shifted your perspective, completely did an overhaul on your reality, and your brain functions in a different way than how it functioned before. So now you have your old self and your new self. And while they're very similar, they look the same, they operate very differently. He's watching his older self. And I could see, I'm in the kitchen, I could see him having like this visceral reaction. And it was as if he was in church and he's nodding at what his former self was doing. What he got from that, after Rev Melissa finished the show, I said, how was that experience for you? He said, it made me realize that God has done so much for me. And I'm paraphrasing, because he wanted to accomplish a goal, and it was a big goal. He didn't know the how. Like, how am I going to get from New York City to Louisville, transportation, hotel, all of the hoodies that I need? How am I going to support these women who live in a women's homeless shelter? How? And he got to be reminded. He got to be reminded that the how was never his responsibility. And so you get to focus on knowing and believing that whatever it is that you want to accomplish is possible, because God's not going to give you an idea or a dream and not be able to map out a path for you to accomplish that. So the how was God's responsibility. And literally after that show ended, this was about 2 years ago, she did this show. After that show ended, the how, God started putting all of the pieces together to make it happen. And that was his report, that I now have transportation. I now have a hotel. I now have other players who are going to donate things that we can present to the unhoused community. It was beautiful. And so I thought, how many of us have forgotten what God has done for you? right? Because sometimes we focus on the things that we don't have, or the things that have not come to fruition, the places that we have not gone to, versus, well, wait a minute. But what about all of the things that God has done for me? And I got the opportunity to think about that in my own life. And this morning, like literally, this was within a 30-minute time span when he said, I'm watching my former self, and I'm realizing, look what God has done for me. Look what God did for me in that situation. There was a time when I wasn't clear about the how, but I knew that I'm going to need to really lean into my faith. Really lean into my faith. I wanted to travel to Scotland to perform my one-woman show. And so you have the normal logistics, right? The normal logistics of, okay, how much is this going to cost? Plane ticket, all of the things. And I said to myself, I said, I know that I believe in God. However, most of my life, I believed more in myself. I felt like I needed to hold on to the wheel and steer it and be in control of every single moment of my life. And I even had a cute little saying, if it's meant to be, it's up to feed. If it's meant to be, it's up to feed. Hey, the audacity, the audacity, the audacity. So I want to go to Scotland. It was a very expensive trip because not only was I wanting to go to Scotland, but I needed to be there for 3 weeks. I was like, girl, which meant 3 weeks away from my job. I wasn't a full-time 100% entrepreneur. I worked at a water store in Santa Monica. My boss was extremely accommodating, flexible, but this is 3 weeks. And I'm performing my one-woman show. That in and of itself is a huge undertaking. I was determined. And so literally, I left the United States of these Americas and had an Airbnb for 3 days out of a 3-week stay. 3 days. And I said, I am believing that God is going to come through for me. I am believing and trusting that God is going to come through for me. And let me tell you, whenever I'm feeling challenged, whenever I find myself frustrated about the process, because I'm now in a new shift, a new place in my life, and I get frustrated because this whole thing has changed, right? In a great way. However, there's this learning curve. The game has changed. I actually heard, what's his name? Tony Robbins. Now, if Tony Robbins, mega millionaire, highly influential, if Tony Robbins is saying, y'all, the game has changed and we all get to pivot, it's serious. The game has changed. I arrived in Scotland with an Airbnb for 3 days. And let me just tell you, what I got to be reminded of this morning is how God came through for me. And not at the nick of time, like every day. I not only had an Airbnb to live in for 3 weeks, I was able to build a small audience by myself. I had no producer, director. I had no PR person. I had no publicist. I had no videographer. I had no sound guy. Oh, yeah, I had no sound person. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm in a European country. I'm going to assume that people in this country don't know R&B. They don't. And I was wrong. I met an incredible man literally 2 days before I opened, which meant we had a very short window to rehearse. He knew more about R&B music than I did. It was so symbiotic, so beautiful. And I got to be reminded of the power of God and what God has done for me. And that's just one of hundreds of stories. I want to encourage you If you are listening to my voice, if you are watching me today, if you have been frustrated with the process, whatever that process is for you, maybe that process is healing from a tragic occurrence, like my Sekou. Maybe your process is starting over, starting again. Maybe you're going from being employed full-time to part-time. You've been downsized. Maybe it's going from working to now you're an entrepreneur. Or maybe you're waiting for that grant to come through. Maybe you're hoping and praying and believing that you'll qualify for that loan. Maybe you're buying a house. Like the maybes could go on and on and on. But there's a level of frustration that can occur. But you get to remember what God has already done for you. And so you get to take some comfort in knowing that God's got your front and your back. God is working in the background on your behalf. Always has, always will. You just forgot. You just forgot. I forget all the time. And literally this morning, I have chill bumps because I'm like, wait a minute. What? Yes. Woo, I remember the time. Y'all know I got some stories. Y'all know I got some stories. Y'all know I got some stories. I remember a time, and I was having a conversation with my then writing teacher and mentor. She didn't know she was my mentor, but she was mentoring me, Iona Morris. And I was sharing with Iona that my mom was sick. My mom had just gotten diagnosed with leukemia. I said to Iona, I said, I really feel like I need to go back to Omaha and just support her. Iona said to me, she said, baby, that is the most important role you will ever play in life. She said to me, if you go back, she said, whatever you decide, it's fine. Whatever you decide is fine. If you decide to not go and stay here in LA, that's fine. If you decide to go and be there with your mom, that's fine. I just want you to know that if you decide to go and be with your mom, that God is going to reward you. She said, now that may sound, a little odd, like I'm going to be rewarded for taking care of my mom. She said, God is going to see you in a whole different light. That for me was what I needed to hear. And I made the decision to move back to Omaha. And when I left Omaha in 1988, I vowed, you understand what I'm saying? And let me tell you, if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. And I said, never, ever, 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 ever will I live here again. I'm clear. I'm done. Thank you. Bye-bye. And so I'm moving back to Omaha. I'm packed up. I lived in Calabasas. That would be Calabasas. I lived there. I told my landlord, what happened? I'm moving, I'm leaving. And he said, Fee, why don't you just keep your apartment because you may come back? And I was like, sir, my mother is very, very, very ill and I need to be there. And so I'm gonna go. He said, okay, but he said, I really feel like you should at least keep your apartment. I left. And so now I am in preparation to move back to Omaha. I have a Jeep and I want to drive my Jeep, which means I need to get a U-Haul, all the things. I pack everything up and I sell, the furniture, and I have boxes. I asked my best friend's parents. My best friend had already transitioned of cancer. Her name is Louise Pinion. I asked Louise Pinion's parents if I can keep my things at their house while I work so that I can save up more money for this trip. I had about maybe 35 days left. So they said yes. I get a call literally 3 days after that conversation. The call said, you need to get here right now. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm coming. No, you need to get here now. So I get there on a one-way ticket. And I never thought about how am I going to come back? It never even dawned on me. I got there. I was in the hospital with my mom. She transitioned 3 days later. And so I'm, trying to mourn And then it dawned on me, oh, well, wait a minute. I'm technically homeless because I left my apartment in Cala Blacklist because I was going to move in with my mom. So now that she's no longer here, then that means I no longer need to be here in Omaha. And so I said, I'm going to trust this process. I am going to do nothing. And I tell you, doing nothing is doing so much. And I know this, and I still struggle, and I'm still challenged with doing nothing, doing less. I spent almost 3 weeks in Omaha doing nothing. I got to say with my mom's best friend, Brenda Snoddy, thank you again, Brenda Snoddy. And I did nothing. I mourned, and then I got myself back to LA on a one-way ticket to a part-time job. I literally was working for the water store 1, maybe 2 days a week. I called and I said, this has happened. I've given up my training business. Why? Because I'm moving back to Omaha. I said, is there any way I can pick up a couple more days? She said, Shotzi, that's what she would call me. She said, Shotzi, you can work every day if you want. You can work as many hours as you want. And let me tell you, that was my therapy. Being in that water store in Santa Monica, 2 blocks from the ocean, was divine. And I trusted the process. And I get to remember, girl, God had you. Look what God did for you. Look what God did for me. Like, not one day did I not have a roof over my head. Not one day. I came back to LA. My best friend Louise's parents, I asked them if I could move in with them until I figured it out, because I was like, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be in LA, if I should go back to Omaha. Like, I don't know anything. Louise's cousin also was in a transition period in her life. She moved in, and we had an amazing grown up, start again experience in that house in Ladera Heights. Beautiful. We got to look out on the landscape of LA, and we both got an opportunity to heal, and God just worked it out like God always do. So if you are feeling like, I have no idea what I'm doing, where my next step, what my next move is, trust the process and remember and actually recall that time or those times when God had you. Like, write it out and then read it and be comforted in knowing that because God did it then, God's going to keep on doing it. And you get to strengthen that belief muscle. You get to do that for yourself. This is not what I was going to talk about today. I was going to talk about it's about damn time. Because it is about damn time. I was going to talk about my mentor, Arlan Hamilton. My mentor, Arlan Hamilton. And Arlan Hamilton is so giving. She is such a blessing to all of us. So thank you, God, in advance for Arlan Hamilton. Thank you so much. I want to share something that she's written, or that was written. No, she actually said this. And this speaks to me, and it might speak to you. I think it will, because sometimes we think we need to be more. We need to do more. We need to know more. We need to get more. And really, you don't. You just need to be yourself, because the people who are looking for you will be able to find you easy if you're simply being yourself. Arlan says, despite what society would have you believe, a privileged background, an influential network, and a fancy college degree are not prerequisites for success. They are not prerequisites for success. So you get to start over. You get to start again. You get to start where you are. You get to be reminded of those many, many, many times that God had you. And you get to take delight and comfort in knowing that God will always have you as long as you continue to believe and continue to show up for the work. All right. This is the Fee King Show. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Fee King. Let me thank some of my sponsors. Thank you so much. That man right there, Free Your Soul Publishing, Dope Beats, indie producer Bobby Tamir out of St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. Thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you so much, my girl Ife Thomas, Her Glow Candy Shop, Her Glow Candy Shop. Check her out. Statement Piece Conversation Pieces, Her Glow CandyShop.com. Thank you so much also for my producer of the Fee King Show, the arm of the Fee King Show in There Are Black People in Omaha group, because yes, there are Black people in Omaha. I'm proof. Thank you so much, Get Rich 101, for sponsoring that arm. Thank you lastly to your girl, your local fitness go-to girl, Fee King, for building this community of health and wellness, advocating for my sisters over the age of 40. Yes, you can get unstuck. Yes, you can get there en route from where you are to where you want to be. You get to do the work. You get to show up for the work. Why? Because the Calvary ain't coming to save you. But the most important Calvary, that being God and you, are all you will ever need. All right. I bid you love, light, peace, prosperity, possibility, positivity, not just for today, not just for the week or the rest of 2023, for your whole life condition. I'm out.